I've been stressing and overthinking what my first video for this channel should be. So I think I'm just going to get rid of anything I had planned and just kind of speak from my heart. I think people as a whole are obsessed with purpose. We are obsessed with the idea of a purpose, of having one. It seems like everyone is constantly searching for purpose, either within themselves, their own lives, within the world, or within how those two things interact. I think one of the biggest leading causes for depression is purposelessness. Feeling purposeless. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to coin it. I think one of the most dangerous things to humanity, and I'm going to say this is regardless of religion, regardless of lifestyle, regardless of culture, is feeling purposeless. I mean, why do you think it's always the artist who ends up thinking so often that becomes a victim to the same mind which at once created so much? That mind that once created so much becomes destructive. That's what purposelessness does. And I'm someone that's personally struggled with finding purpose, finding meaning. I always wanted to be able to ground myself in something, to find something. If I were to look at it from every other angle, it would not change. It would be stagnant, never moving, regardless of the weather, regardless of the day, regardless of the hour. Camus describes a philosophical thought process that arrives from this, answering the question of purpose, answering the question of suicide, which Camus claims is, at the end, the one goal of all philosophy. In the way a doctor's goal is to heal all and cure all, the philosopher is meant to combat suicide and answer and give the definition as to meaning, as to life. Camus describes the absurd, which is his answer, as the futility of a search for meaning in an incomprehensible universe that, in and of itself, is devoid of meaning, and to push the line, devoid of God. I can't say that if I knew Camus, I would have agreed with him, or more so that I would have even liked him, but the way he describes his viewpoint on the fulfillment of life has always resonated with me for some reason, and I've never understood why. He illustrates this concept of meaning with the infamous Sisyphus, which is why his book is titled The Myth of Sisyphus, a man who, as punishment for deceiving the gods, was forced to forever roll a boulder up a mountain, with it forever falling back, there being seemingly no end, no purpose, no meaning to him in his existence. And Camus's answer to this, how he fulfills the book, I've always resonated with. He states that the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. I would like to correct Camus here by stating that the struggle itself towards the heavens is enough to fulfill man's heart only because God himself lowered the heavens for us. I live my life not necessarily by changing my opinion of myself and of my purposelessness, but instead of shifting it towards a God, towards a man, and all that he did for me. I truly believe that what Camus says has some merit to it, because if we are to merit or look at our lives and try to define it, it really is seemingly impossible. I mean, even the book of Ecclesiastes opens with meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Everything is utterly meaningless. This is King Solomon. And if you know anything about the book of Ecclesiastes, he goes on to describe purpose, laughter, joy, fulfillment, and how everything is seemingly impossible to find. Purpose is impossible to ascertain to anything in this world. So I have to agree with Camus that the truth is this world does seem purposeless. And if we are to find meaning and search for it within it, we will have no purpose. And humanity itself, I mean, if you think about it, did God have to create us? Did he have to? Everyone always wants to talk about Adam and Eve and why would God put the thing there? Why would he give them the free will? But I always think, why did he make them in the first place? And a lot of you will use that to try to debunk Christianity, to try to debunk God. But guys, I hate to say it, saying what God could have or should have done only works when we ground it relative to what he has done. So yeah, I say God himself is perfect. He existed as the triune, as the Trinity before he formed anything, and he was perfect. Nothing has changed about his state of perfection. It was 110% and it is 110% now. But he still created us. He created us because he wanted us. And I think God wants me, but I really can't do anything for him. There's nothing that he needs me for, but he still wants me. And you could look at that want and need and look at it in a negative light and saying, wow, God doesn't even need me. Why should I? This and that. But the truth of the matter is, he still wants you. His love is illogical. It makes no sense. Before I even go and talk about Jesus Christ, y'all, creation itself, why did he create? Simply out of love and simply because he wanted to. And so I agree with Camus here. The struggle itself is enough to fulfill our hearts. Man can do nothing. Man cannot reach the heavens, state of perfection, by any of our own work. You know, there's so many passages I could talk about. They try to reach the heavens way back in Old Testament times at the Tower of Babel, and they all got scattered. Men try to live perfect lives, but, you know, the truth of the matter is we all sin. We all fall, like Romans 6 says that we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Furthermore, in Romans 7, Paul writes, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. And I think this topic can transcend Christian boundaries for a second, because we've all lived lives doing things that, why did I do that? So much of psychology is dedicated to discovering the unknown of why do humans act the way that we do, and why are we so messed up. And I think of all this, and I think of how the truth is, your bad works mean nothing before Christ, but your good works also mean nothing before him. I think of the parable of the man who threw the wedding. He was throwing a wedding. He invites all of his guests. None of them show up. So he goes out into the streets and he brings in everyone. Brings in the homeless, brings in anyone, and suits them up, dresses them in attire. He sees a man and he goes, why are you not dressed? Have you not done what I was given to you? The man does not say anything. And so he's thrown away to weeping and gnashing of teeth. That sounds like an extreme, right? But again, stick with me here. You can't get to the heavens. One cannot reach the heights by their own merits. I think that's something that me and Camus can agree upon. Man will not be able to reach the heights. For him, it's simply the heights. For me, it is the heavens itself. And so, yes, the struggle itself, the drive and the motivation, the perseverance to get there is enough to fulfill man's heart. It is enough to fill my heart, knowing that although I could never reach heaven, I still want to be like Christ. I still want to live my life righteously. I want to do the best that I can. I want to do the best that I can with the body, with the life, with the soul that God has gifted me with. But that thought process only works with Christ in the equation. Camus wants to enjoy life, enjoy the absurdism of it, but I can only ground that with the safety net that is Jesus and his sacrifice. The struggle itself towards the heavens is enough to fulfill my heart because God himself lowered the heavens to meet my standard. I can never meet any standard, so I must accept that. And I can live my life joyfully, actually, rejoicing in that. I could never reach the heavens, but God lowered them. He didn't have to create me, yet he did, simply because he wanted me. Simply because he is love, and as an extension of that love, has to love me and sustain me. Like what? It doesn't make sense. It's illogical. But it's the only thing that has answered that question for me. And so I have purpose within being purposeless. There's nothing I can do, there's no achievement I can attain that will make God more complete, will make Jesus' sacrifice any more special than it already is. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. God has sovereign will, and it'll either act respectfully in my favor or against me, but it will be sovereign. But it's a safety net. It's a safety net because in that struggle, I can enjoy the struggle because I know I'm going to get there regardless. I know Jesus' sacrifice has lowered those heavens for me. And so why would I not want to be like him? He's the guy that made it. Christ is Sisyphus if he could have pushed the boulder past the mountain and into space. Christ is Sisyphus if he could have climbed and carried everything to the stars. And Christ is Sisyphus if I was on the other end weighing him down. So yeah, this life is absurd, and there's no inherent meaning that can be found within a specific career, within a job, within a person, within a relationship, within a state of being, within an emotion, within food, within pleasure, within pain. Truly, it can all be meaningless. But the only thing that has any meaning is the power and the weight of the blood that was shed for the remission of all sins. Jesus Christ of Nazarene. The truth is, Camus wants to live life the Christian way, not relying on works. But he's missing the whole point of it. The reason that I don't rely on anything in this world to give me meaning is because My meaning is found only within God's love. God's love that was reflected on the cross, God's love that was evidence of creation, and God's love as I stand here, living testimony of Him. Why not accept that love? Why wouldn't you? If you truly knew what it was and truly knew what it meant. Run the race, keep the faith.